Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to another installment of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. We are on chapter 25. There's only 30 chapters in this entire book, and we are 5 chapters from the end. And in a book, as the story goes on, every story starts with a problem and ends with a solution. And as the story goes on, the problem happens, and a lot of things happen to the protagonist, the main character. Just a lot of things happen. And goodness gracious. God bless myself. And this happens and that happens, and there's all kinds of events that take place. And basically in the story, you're kind of charging up the mountain as you're working your way towards a solution. And sometimes it seems like the solution will never present itself. In this case, there's adventure, great adventure, but sometimes with adventure, even though it's a positive word, there can be, dark things that happen. And certainly there have. Well, four kind of, I don't want to say mean children, because I guess they can be mean, but they're you've got spoiled kids, you've got kids who talk back, you have, kids who take things when they're told not to, and then you have Charlie, who's a good boy. He's our main character. The book is called Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, but he's a good kid, and he's surrounded by these other children who have been spoiled and enabled their whole life to do whatever they want, or be allowed to do whatever they want. But 3 of them now are gone. There were 5 altogether, as you know. And Augustus Gloop, Violet Beauregard, and we recently lost in the last chapter, where she lost herself, Veruca Salt, who wanted a squirrel and wouldn't take no for an answer, went in there, and the squirrels, they found out she was a bad nut. And they pushed her down the garbage disposal along with her mom and her dad. So they're all gone. There's only 2 left, Mike TV and Charlie. So chapter 25 is called The Great Glass Elevator. And here we go. "Oh, I've never seen anything like it," Mr. Wonka said. "The children are disappearing like rabbits. But you mustn't worry about it. They'll all come out in the wash." Mr. Wonka looked at the little group that stood beside him in the corridor. There were only 2 children left, Mike TV and Charlie Bucket. And there were 3 grown-ups, Mr. and Mrs. TV, and Grandpa Joe. "Well, shall we move on?" "Oh, yes," cried Charlie and Grandpa both together. "My feet are hurting. They're getting tired," said Mike TV. "I want to watch telly." "If you're tired, then I guess we'd better take the elevator," said Mr. Wonka. "It's over here. Come on, in we go." And he skipped across the passage to a pair of double doors. The doors opened up, and the 2 children and the grown-ups went in. "Now then," cried Mr. Wonka, "which button shall we press first? Take your pick." And this is what it looks like inside the great elevator. I'm going to move out of the way here. So you can see there's Grandpa Joe, Charlie, and Mike TV. It looks like today, us with COVID. He's got a mask over his head. Of course, he's trying to be a gangster or a bad guy or whatever. But look at all those buttons. And Mr. Wonka said, "Take your pick. Pick the one you want." I wonder. Charlie Bucket stared around him in astonishment. This was the craziest elevator he had ever seen. There were buttons everywhere, the walls and even the ceiling. They were covered all over with rows and rows and rows of small black push buttons. There must have been 1,000 of them on each wall and another 1,000 on the ceiling. And now Charlie noticed that every single button had a tiny printed label beside it telling you which room you would be taken to if you pressed it. This isn't just an ordinary up and down elevator, announced Mr. Wonka proudly. This elevator can take you sideways and long ways and slantways and any which way you can think of. It can visit any single room in the whole factory, no matter where it is. You must simply press the button. And zing, you're off. Fantastic, murmured Grandpa. His eyes were shining with excitement as he stared at the rows and rows of buttons. The whole elevator is made of thick, clear glass, said Mr. Wonka declared. Walls, doors, ceilings, floor, everything is made of glass so that you can see out. But there's nothing to see here. Oh, choose a button, said Mr. Wonka. The two children may press one button each. So take your pick. Hurry up. In every room, something delicious and wonderful is being made as we're speaking. Quickly, Charlie stared, reading some of the labels alongside the buttons. The Rock Candy Mine, 10,000 feet deep, it said on one. 10,000 feet deep. Coconut Ice Skating Rinks, it said on another. Then strawberry juice water pistols, toffee apple trees for planting out in your garden, all sizes, exploding candy for your enemies, luminous lollies for eating in bed at night, mint jujubes for the boy next door. They'll give him green teeth for a month. Cavity-filling caramels, no more dentists. Stick jaw for a talkative parent. Wriggle sweets that wriggle delightfully in your tummy after swallowing. Invisible chocolate bars for eating in class. Candy-coated pencils for sucking. Fizzy lemonade swimming pools. Ooh. Magic handmade fudge. When you hold it in your hand, you taste it in your mouth. Fascinating. Rainbow drops. Suck them and you can spit in six different colors. Come on, said Mr. Wonka. We can't stay here all day. Isn't there a television room in this lot? Asked Mike TV. Oh, there certainly is a television room, Mr. Wonka said. That button over there. And he pointed with his finger. Everybody looked. Television chocolate, it said on the tiny label beside the button. Whoopee! Shouted Mike TV. That's for me. And he stuck out his thumb and he pressed the button. Instantly, there was a tremendous whizzing noise. The doors clanged shut and the elevator leaped away as though it had been stung by a wasp. But it leapt sideways, and all the passengers except Mr. Wonka, who was holding on to a strap from the ceiling, were flung from their feet to the floor. Oh, get up, cried Mr. Wonka, roaring with laughter. Oh! But just as they were staggering to get to their feet, the elevator changed direction again and swerved violently around the corner, and over they went once more. That would be so fun. Oh, help! Shouted Mrs. TV. Oh, take my hand, madam, said Mr. Wonka gallantly. There you are. Now grab this strap. Everybody grab a strap. The journey's not over yet. Old Grandpa Joe staggered to his feet and caught hold of a strap. Little Charlie, who couldn't possibly reach as high as that, put his arms around Grandpa Joe's legs and hung on tight. The elevator rushed on at the speed of a rocket. Now it was beginning to climb, and it was shooting up and up and up and up and up and up and up on a steep, slanty course, as if it were climbing a very steep hill. Then suddenly, as though it had come to the top of a hill and gone over the precipice, it dropped like a stone, and Charlie felt his tummy coming right up into his throat, and Grandpa Joe shouted, "Yippee! Here we go!" And Mrs. TV cried out, "Oh, the rope has broken! Oh, we're going to crash!" And Mr. Wonka said, "Oh, calm yourself, my dear lady," and he patted her comfortingly on the arm. And then Grandpa Joe looked down at Charlie, who was clinging to his legs, and said, "Are you all right, Charlie?" Charlie shouted, "I love this. It's like being on a roller coaster." And through the glass walls of the elevator, as it rushed along, they caught sudden glimpses of strange and wonderful things going on in some other rooms in the factory. An enormous spout with brown sticky stuff oozing out of it onto the floor. A great craggy mountain made entirely of fudge with Oompa Loompas all roped together for safety, hacking huge chunks of fudge out of its sides. A machine with white powder spraying out as if it were a snowstorm. A lake of hot caramel with steam coming off of it. A village of Oompa Loompas with tiny houses and streets and hundreds of Oompa Loompas children no more than 4 inches high playing in the streets. And now the elevator began flattening out again, but it seemed to be going faster than ever, and Charlie could hear the scream of the wind outside as it hurtled forward, and it twisted and it turned and it went up and it went down and... I'm going to be sick, said Mrs. TV. I'm going to be sick. She started to turn green in the face. Oh, I'm going to be sick. Oh, don't be sick here, said Mr. Wonka. Try and stop me. Then you better take this. And Mr. Wonka said, and he swept his magnificent black hat off his head, and he held it upside down in front of Mrs. TV's mouth. Oh, make this awful thing stop, said Mr. TV. Oh, I can't do that, said Mr. Wonka. It won't stop until we get there. I only hope no one's using the other elevator at this moment. What other elevator? Said Mrs. TV. The one that goes the opposite way on the same track as this one, said Mr. Wonka. Holy mackerel, said Mr. TV. You mean we might have had a collision? We're going this way and the other one could be coming this way? No, I've always been lucky so far. Now I'm going to be sick, said Mrs. TV. No, said Mr. Wonka, not now. We're nearly there, and don't spoil my hat. The next moment, there was screaming of brakes, and the elevator began to slow down, and then it stopped altogether. Some ride, said Mr. TV, wiping his great sweaty face with a handkerchief. Never again, gasped Mrs. TV, and then the doors of the elevator slid open, and Mr. Wonka said, Just a minute now, listen to me. I want everyone to be very careful in this room. There's dangerous stuff around in here, and you must not tamper with it. And that is the end of chapter 25. So, the Great Glass Elevator sounds like a whole lot of fun to me. But you know what? There are some people in the world, no matter how much fun things are, they will complain about everything. And that seems to be the TVs. Mike didn't have much to say yet. But Mom and Dad, they were just worried and complaining. I guess when you're an adult, you forget how to have fun. Not all adults, Old Mr. Mac is an old man, but I remember what it was to be a kid. I'll never let that feeling leave me. I would find that elevator to be fun. Like Charlie said, it was like a roller coaster, I certainly wouldn't be complaining. I'd probably be laughing my head off. So anyway, chapter 26 is called The Television Chocolate Room. Let me make sure I haven't left out any art. I didn't, but I do want to show you the awesome elevator again. There's Grandpa Joe and Charlie and Mike TV. Looking at all the buttons, can you imagine that many buttons? I think it's so cool that today with COVID and everyone being masked when they go out, Mike TV wearing his gangster or his bad guy, people in the Old West used to put handkerchiefs on their faces so they couldn't be recognized, the bandits. Isn't that funny? Almost prophetic. Like he was able to see the future. So chapter 26 is called The Great Chocolate Television Room. The TV family, together with Charlie and Grandpa Joe, stepped out of the elevator into a room so dazzlingly bright and dazzlingly white that they screwed their eyes in pain and stopped walking. Like this. Mr. Wonka handed each of them a pair of dark glasses, and he said, Put these on quick, and don't take them off from here. Whatever you do, as long as you're here, You must wear these glasses or else the light will blind you." And as soon as Charlie had his dark glasses on, he was able to look around in comfort. He saw a long, narrow room. The room was painted white all over. Even the floor was white, and there wasn't a speck of dust anywhere. From the ceiling, huge lamps hung down and bathed the room in a brilliant blue-white light. The room was completely bare except for far ends of... the room was completely bare except at the far ends. At one of those ends, there was an enormous camera on wheels, and a whole army of Oompa Loompas was clustering around it, oiling its joints and adjusting its knobs and polishing its great glass lens. And that's what it looks like right there. That's the big camera. The Oompa Loompas are doing their thing. There's the lights up there. Doing their thing. That would be so cool. The Oompa Loompas were all dressed in the most extraordinary way. They were wearing bright red spacesuits, complete with helmets and goggles. At least they looked like spacesuits, and they were working in complete silence. Watching them, Charlie experienced a strange sense of danger. There was something dangerous about this whole business, something, and the Oompa Loompas knew it. There was no chattering or singing among them, and they moved about over the huge black camera slowly and carefully in their scarlet spacesuits. So the Oompa Loompas are Oompa Loompas, but they're not as playful and mischief and sing-songy as they were in the other places that they'd been so far. Here they were using complete concentration and being very careful. They were very serious. At the other end of the room, about 50 paces away from the camera, a single Oompa Loompa, also wearing a spacesuit, was sitting at a black table gazing at the screen of a very large television set. "Here we go," cried Mr. Wonka, hopping up and down with excitement. "Oh, this is the testing room for my very latest and very greatest invention, television chocolate." "Aye, but what is television chocolate?" "Good heavens, child, stop interrupting me," said Mr. Wonka. "It works by television. I don't like television myself. I suppose it's all right in small doses, but children never seem to be able to take their TV in small doses. They want to sit there all day staring and staring at the screen." "Oi, that's me," said Mike TV. "Oh, shut up," said Mr. TV. "Thank you," said Mr. Wonka. "I shall now tell you how this amazing television set of mine works. But first, all of you, do you know how ordinary television works? It is very simple. At one end, there's a picture being taken. You have a large movie camera, and you start photographing something. The photographs are then split up into millions of tiny bits. Each are so small that you can't see them, and these tiny pieces are shot into the sky, way up high by electricity. In the sky, they go whizzing around all over the place until suddenly they hit the antenna on the roof of someone's house. They then go flashing down the wire that leads right into the back of the television set, and there they get jiggled and joggled around until at last every single million tiny pieces of those things fitted back together in the right place, mind you, just like a jigsaw puzzle. And presto, a photograph appears on your screen." That isn't exactly how it works," said Mike TV. I'm a little deaf in this ear, young man," Mr. Wonka said. "You must forgive me if I don't hear anything you say." "I said, that isn't exactly how it works," said Mike TV. "You're a nice boy," said Mr. Wonka, "but you talk too much. Now then, the very first time I saw ordinary television working, I was struck by a tremendous idea. Look here," I shouted. "If these people can break up a photograph into millions of tiny pieces and send them whizzing through the air, then I can put them together again at the other end. Why can't I do that with a bar of chocolate?" Why can't I send a real bar of chocolate whizzing through the air in tiny pieces and then put them all together at the other end, back in place, ready to be eaten? Impossible, said Mike TV. You think so? Said Mr. Wonka. Well, what's this? I shall now send a bar of my very best chocolate from one end of this room to the other by television. Get ready. There. Bring in the chocolate. Immediately, 6 Oompa Loompas marched forward, carrying on their shoulders the most enormous bar of chocolate Charlie had ever seen. It was about the size of a mattress that he had at home. Oh, I must explain. It must be big, said Mr. Wonka, because whenever you send something by television, it always comes out much smaller than it was when it went in. Even with ordinary television, when you photograph a big man, he never comes on your screen any taller than a pencil, does he? Here we go. Ready? No, stop. Hold everything. You there. My TV. Stand back. You're too close to the camera. There are dangerous rays coming out of that thing. They can break you up into 1,000,000 tiny pieces. That's why the Oompa Loompas are wearing space suits. The suits protect them. All right, that's better. Now, then, all right. Oh, now, switch it on. One of the Oompa Loompas caught hold of a large switch and pulled it down. There was a blinding flash. The chocolate's gone, shouted Grandpa Joe, waving his arms. It's gone. He was quite right. The whole enormous bar of chocolate had disappeared completely into thin air. Oh, it's on its way, cried Mr. Wonka. It is now rushing through the air above our heads in 1,000,000 tiny little pieces. Quick, come over here. Come. Watch the screen. Watch it. Here it comes now. Watch the screen. The screen flickered and lit up. Forgive me, I'm sweating to death over here. The screen flickered and lit up. Then suddenly a small bar of chocolate appeared in the middle of the screen. Take it! Take it! Shouted Mr. Wonka, growing more and more excited. Take it! Yeah, how can you take it? Asked Mike TV, laughing. It's just a picture on a television screen. Charlie Bucket, said Mr. Wonka. Then you take it. Reach out and grab it. Charlie put out his hand and touched the screen, and suddenly, miraculously, the bar of chocolate came away in his fingers. He was so surprised he nearly dropped it. Eat it, said Mr. Wonka. Go on, eat it. It's delicious, I promise you. It's the same bar. It just got smaller on the journey, that's all. It's absolutely fantastic, said Grandpa Joe. It's a miracle. Just imagine, said Mr. Wonka, when I start using this across the country. You'll be sitting at home watching television, and suddenly a commercial will flash onto the screen and a voice will say, Eat Wonka's chocolates. They're the best in the world. If you don't believe us, try one for yourself now. And you simply reach out and take one. How about that? Terrific, said Grandpa Joe. It'll change the world. Well, that's chapter 25 and 26. That's all for today. I hope you enjoyed it. We are now, as you know, we're in the TV room. And Mike TV, that's his favorite thing in the world. That's all he ever does is watch TV. He doesn't do anything else. He doesn't read. He doesn't go outside. He just watches TV and nothing else. And already there was a bit of foreshadowing, just a little bit. Foreshadowing is that device that authors are so awesome authors use. They give us a hint of something that will make more sense later. And the foreshadowing had to do with Mike TV, and it had to do, forgive me, I'm hot. So where I'm sitting and making these, it's not air conditioned here. This is part of my house. Anyway, I need to fix that. Mike TV did something, and can you remember what he did? Well, he moved out of the group. He was so enthralled by the television camera and all of that, he was moving too close to it. Mr. Wonka had to yell and scream and make him come away. He wasn't dressed. He wasn't protected as the Oompa Loompas were. That the rays and all that stuff could have hurt him, damaged him, whatever. So that was a little bit of foreshadowing to let us know that we already know Mike TV's a big mouth, but the young man is too. There's something called impulses. An impulse is the first thing you think of, you do. Most of us have filters. If you see a candy bar in a store and you don't have any money, your impulse is to reach out and take it. And if you do, that's called robbery. So your first impulse is something you think about and maybe even wish for, which there's nothing wrong with that. But you filter it out. You realize that that's something you can't do. Mike TV doesn't have that. He just does whatever the first thing that comes to his mind. And in this case, he got way too close to the... So I think that's a bit of foreshadowing to let us know that something's coming. Something's coming with Mike TV. That's what I think. Come back for chapters 26 and 27. We're almost at the end. Can't wait to find out. Take good care of yourselves. This is a holiday weekend. It's Saturday, July 4th. Whatever you're doing, stay safe, stay masked. When you're done doing whatever you're doing, always keep your hands away from your eyes, nose, and face. Wash your hands too after you're finished doing, handling, being anywhere. And take care of yourselves. And I look forward to reading. I think I'm going to read just till the end the next time, chapters 27, 28. Well, I don't know. No, I take that back. I'm going to shut up. Take care. Bye-bye.